Hey guys, it's Josh and Linda back for another video today. We're so excited. Hope you guys have been having a great week, and we're really excited for today's topic.
So today we thought that we would share our top 5 tips for long distance relationships. Josh and I actually did long distance right at the very beginning of our relationship for about 3 years. Josh moved away to Texas for college, and so we feel like that's been a very beneficial part of our relationship. It's taught us so much, and we know that some of you guys are going through long distance relationships, and that, a lot of times people just don't know what to do and how to deal with that type of relationship. So we thought we would share some more tips with you guys, just some things that helped us.
Yeah, we definitely learned a lot. It's a big part of our story. And as much as we didn't love it at the time, looking back now, we say wow, that prepared us for marriage. And we just want to say also in the beginning, we were, long distance off and on for about 3 years. We know that there are people, military families or different jobs, that this has been a life for you of long distance relationships. And you probably have a lot of things that you could add to this conversation. So we're just sharing from our experience, but we know that there are so many that are going through even more. And so, we're with you, we're praying for you, and just believing that God's going to move in that situation.
If you're going through a long distance relationship, like Josh was saying, military families and people who do this to far greater lengths than we ever did, feel free to drop any tips that you guys have in the comments, anything that you want to share, things that have helped you or things that you feel like could help other people.
So the first one that we found was really important to us. We certainly were not perfect with this, but looking back, we definitely learned this, is start with a strong foundation. Jumping into long distance is going to be really, really, really difficult if there's not a good foundation, not only of your relationship, but especially what we believe, a relationship with God.
Yeah.
If you haven't started there and you're not secure in your faith and your significant other's not secure in theirs, then it's just going to be really, really difficult as you're apart for weeks, months, years on end. A strong foundation is so important.
Yeah, and something that just I think really helped Josh and I as we moved forward into long distance is we learned how to build just our friendship first. Josh and I weren't really friends before we had dated, but we had just taken time to grow.
We weren't enemies though.
We weren't enemies. Josh and I just had developed our friendship. Like we talked about things that we felt in our heart about different matters, and we just built a strong friendship within our relationship. And in that, we built trust, and we knew what the other expected as we were going forward into that season of life. And I think a big thing too is if you're struggling with trust in your relationship and you're struggling with just whatever the situation may be before you're going long distance, do not think that just because you're away from each other that it's going to get easier. Those things will probably get harder. And so I think sorting that out, bringing that to God, communicating with one another in that sense, and healing those broken parts of your relationship is so important before you go into something so difficult.
Being apart, having two totally different friend groups, that's not going to help any of it. So that friendship is important, but that's also a big thing even as you're going forward in long distance, because the one thing that I found very quickly was, when you're with each other, there's a physical side to the relationship. There's hugs, there's, cuddling, there's kissing, there's just time spent together. Yeah. But now all of a sudden for 3-4 months at a time, that's all gone. And so now becomes a time where, do I actually love just talking to this person? Is just talking to them enough? Do we have enough in common? Is there a real great friendship? So that was definitely a big thing we found. And then also the other part of just having a good foundation was, what am I actually seeking out of this relationship? Is this a relationship that I actually can see leading to a long-term relationship, to marriage? Because if not, that's a lot to put one another through emotionally, spiritually, if you're really not there.
I think if your relationship in God is strong, then it will actually strengthen the relationship you have with this person while you're away from one another.
Yeah, absolutely. So just making sure that the foundation, you're set in God, you're both kind of in this, you have the same idea for this relationship, and you're just focused on being friends.
Being friends. So the second one we chose is definitely communication. And within communication, that means definitely making time for one another. For us, we were both in college. We both, were working, and we just had a lot going on while we were apart. And so it could have been very easy to just go through the day and say, well, I'll text you for a minute, but then I'll talk to you tomorrow. Or just something that we put on our calendar because that was a priority of ours, just to communicate and make sure we were talking to each other as much as we could.
We just had to be very committed to saying this time every night, we're either going to talk on the phone, we're going to try to jump on Skype or something.
Skype.
Yeah, Skype back then. But just making sure that we had that time together. But then the other part of communicating was also just communicating when something was wrong. Whether it was something that was bothering me or something that was bothering her, maybe something I did that bothered her, whatever it is. We just found that there was several times when just things kind of built up, and over the building up anger is not good in general, but distance only made it 1,000 times worse.
Well, yeah, when you're together all the time, it's easy to read one another when something's wrong, but being away and thinking something's wrong, like you're not sure, it puts so much more stress because you feel so much more out of control because you can't figure it out in the moment whenever you want. You have to make sure you're being honest and being true about your feelings. Another important tip, if you're at a time difference and your girlfriend is waiting for you to call her and she's on a later time zone than you are, don't make her wait while you watch episodes of 24 with your roommates. Sometimes
it was The Office. Well, but you communicated that with him.
I communicated that with him and it got better. So
there you go. Yeah. So communication, super important. All right, so number 3, we found, we had to learn this, but we found set some boundaries. The reality is the longer that you're away, there's potential opportunities and temptations and things that are out there. And if you haven't set some boundaries, whether it's when you're going to go out, who you're going to go out with, who you're going to spend your time, how you're going to spend your time, whatever that is, it could be easy to fall into just a real state of in that longing, starting to search for some satisfaction in ways, that you shouldn't.
A big part of that too is surrounding yourself with people who will hold you accountable. I was at home, so it was a little bit easier for me. And not that we ever had any problems with that area, but I think it's because we did this, we didn't.
Yeah, having just people that have your back, people that want to see your relationship succeed as much as you want it to succeed. Those are the ones you're going to want to spend your time with. They're the ones that are going to have your best interest in mind. And not that, people are going to make their entire life revolve around you, but just people that know your experience, they know what you're feeling, and they just know how to help you along. But yeah, just setting up some personal guardrails to say, hey, I'm just not going to let myself get to this point or that place, because I don't even want to open a potential door. So definitely setting some boundaries and healthy accountability is super important.
So the fourth one we came up with was, and this is probably the most important.
Probably should have been.
Yeah, this should have been number 1, but this is the most important, and that is to focus on God as a couple, but also as individuals. Even though Josh never gave me a reason not to trust him, it was really hard to be away from him. And so when I felt like that...
It was hard to be away from me? Wow.
Back then. It was always a comfort to know that the Lord was always with me when I felt alone in that sense. I was very rarely by myself because I was home, but it was just nice to know that the more I kept trusting in God and the more of our relationship that we kept giving over to the Lord, that he was going to use that and work in it, and that everything was going to be fine.
We firmly believe from Scripture that your purpose, your meaning in life does not come from your spouse. It does not come from your significant other. It comes from God and God alone. And so you have to be solid there on your own before anything else. But within that, we found that taking time to focus on God together was incredibly valuable. So we prayed together. We tried our best to do devotions together, like over the phone or over Skype, whatever it was, just as a way to keep God at the forefront of everything. And that really did help us through that time, because it kind of naturally forced us to have conversations that we probably wouldn't have had otherwise. It's been a lot harder, we found, to actually do devotions when we're with each other all the time. It was easier when we were away, just simply because I think there was that need to connect on that deeper level.
Doing the devotions together, I think, really enriched our conversations. Like, we could have easily just had been like, what'd you do today? And talked about the same things the whole time. But we actually had some really good conversations and questions that we had about faith. And like, we got to talk about stuff that God's been was doing in our life at the time.
For us, when I went away to school, we had only been dating for 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's not like we really knew each other on a deep level. So we were getting to know each other over the phone. I
was only 18, you were 19, so we were still very much growing in our faith. I mean, we still are and always will be.
And if you're interested, the devotional that we used for all of that, it's a great 365-day devotional called My Utmost. No.
Yeah.
Is it right? I don't want to mess. My Utmost for His Highest. That's right.
And it's by Oswald Chambers.
I didn't want to mess that up, but My Utmost for His Highest.
We can link that down below in the description.
Incredible.
Because it's powerful.
Even if you're not dating, get this devotional. It has nothing to honestly do with dating. It's just a great devotional about following Jesus.
I still do it. I still go through it now. And now it's cool to go back and like read that devotional now, just being married and rereading some of the stuff that I remember us going through. And it's like a reminder of God's faithfulness. Put everything you have into your relationship with God first, because that will in turn overflow into every aspect of your life, including your relationships, no matter what phase you're in.
Correct. And then the last one that, we try to be pretty consistent with this, is always have something to look forward to. No matter how long it's going to be before you see each other, just have something to really look forward to. Now, there are just going to be probably times where just seeing each other again is enough to look forward to. Like, that's just going to be enough. It wouldn't matter if you did anything. It wouldn't matter if there was anything extra that was going to happen. But so sometimes just seeing each other is enough. But there were definitely times that we tried to say, like, here's a really special date we want to do when I get home.
Yeah.
Linda, was fortunate enough to be able to come down every once in a while and visit me. And so I made sure, we try different things. I was in a brand new state, so there's a lot of cool things that we could explore. I know when I came home, I just wanted to go, do all the stuff that you can't do in Texas, like get a good slice of pizza and a cheesesteak. Like, that's what I wanted to do. So she would take me and we would go do all of that. Then sometimes it was bigger dates and things that we really planned, but we wanted there to be something that just kept us going on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, it became more than just seeing each other. It became about just experiencing things together when we were finally back together again. Because it would have been easy for you to just come home and then us kind of hang out at one of our houses or whatever.
Well, we did the math. Up until the point where we actually got engaged, the majority of our relationship was long distance. Like, up until our engagement,
we started dating in 2011, and Josh went away August of that year, and then didn't graduate until 2014, and we got engaged in 2014. And so so most of it was there. The better part of our relationship was long distance.
So those times where we came back together were like super important to kind of maybe fill in the holes that long distance couldn't give us. Just actually being together and experiencing life and making memories. Like, it was tough for 4 straight months not really being able to make memories. Like, there's no pictures, there's no dates. It was very, very strange. So it was just important to always have things like that ready to go.
And I think it was important. Like, Josh would be away for holidays sometimes, like Easter or an anniversary or Valentine's Day sometimes, and it would be emotional for me because I would just be sad about it. I mean, it's normal, but I think just making him, like, when he would come home and having these big plans and things we were looking forward to made it so much easier and made the waiting so worth it. And like we said in the beginning, we had motives. Like, going away, we had only been dating for 6-7 months when Josh went away, but we had talked about marriage at that point, and we knew how we felt about one another. And so I think
we at least knew that was something we were thinking.
Yeah, we were interested. I'm getting blinded. We were interested in that. Like, we didn't go away saying oh, yep, we're definitely going to get married or anything like that. But
we felt strong enough that
we felt like that would be the goal.
We felt strong enough that we could take the risk.
Yeah, and I think toward the end, when we were dating longer and we became more certain that that's what we both felt, marriage and just a life together became like our big like moment after it was all over, and that made it worth everything, like putting everything we had into it and then seeing the other side and being together all the time now. And it's weird because we had a lot of emotional airport moments. Like it would always be, either me or
You still
me
hate the airport to this day because of it.
Well, yeah, like it's just saturated in sad memories. Like even if I'm going like on a
But some were
vacation.
happy, some were good.
Well, yeah, but like I remember like a specific spot outside of the Philadelphia airport where we would always stop to let you off and say goodbye. But now when I go to the airport, like I have like a moment where I'm like, but then I realize like everywhere I'm going, Josh is gonna go with me.
And you realize you're going to Disney World and it's okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine because we're going to Disney. But it's just very cool when you look back and you are on the other side of it all. When you put so much of yourself into your long distance relationship and put the other person first and really just trust in God through the whole process and, communicate with honesty. On the other side of it is such a great story. Like, I think it's such a great picture of the faithfulness of God. Like I said before, Josh and I had days where we were really feeling long distance. Like we were just over it. And I think sometimes we would even take it out on each other a little bit just because we were just sad and stuff. But
there were things I think that came out because of long distance that may have not come out any other way. And again, it's not like you're supposed to do long distance, but at least for us, for what God was doing in our lives, I think it made us go into marriage with some of the things already were taken care of.
Yeah.
Like there were things that, whether it's my life, her life, or us together, needed to come out during long distance that may have not come out until marriage. And then it would have been harder to deal with at that point. But, and the cool thing is if we got mad at each other, it was a little tough because like we couldn't be there with one another to say sorry, but it did, I don't know, there was something really still special about being away but making things right even when it wasn't.
Yeah, and I mean to a degree it gave us space. Like when you're upset with one another, sometimes the best thing to do is just to take a minute and just make yourself busy and do something else and put something else on your mind. And I think that really, like being away helped us not stay so just frustrated with one another. It was just kind of like, well, we're away from each other. There's no point in me sitting here being mad at you. Like you can't sit here and see me being mad. Like we love to do that as people, just like when we're upset, letting the other person know that we're mad with like our body language and just the way we speak to each other. But I think just because we did miss each other so much and we had so much to look forward to, we just saw all of those moments just as like little bumps in the road, but never big enough to take us off track. And that's all God. Like that's 100% God, because the idea of just long distance was never something that I'd even thought about. Like you knew that you were going away to college before you and I even started dating. Like you had already had that thought in your mind, but never did I think that that's how I would go into like my first real and like my relationship that would lead me to my spouse. Like long distance just sounded like a nightmare.
That's so sweet.
I am sweet.
No, and it was good too, because the one thing that helped me is when we started dating, I think I started to question whether I wanted to go away, but Linda never made me question it. She always knew like, this is what you're supposed to do. So yeah, it was good.
We talked about it too. Yeah. Like I remember we had that discussion, like before we even started really dating, it was, I'm going away in August, and we started dating in February, and it was, I'm going away in August, and this is how it's going to be. And it was totally God, because I just remember being like, okay, it's like, let's go for it. Normally, like something like that, I'd be like, oh no, that's too sad for me. But
and it worked.
God knew.
And it's part of the story, and I like it.
I like it. Works for me.
So hey, we hope you guys really enjoyed today's video, just us sharing a little bit of our story and some things we learned along the way. As we said from the beginning, we do not know everything about long distance relationships, and some of you are going through much more difficult experiences than we have, much more long term. And we just want you to know we're with you, we're praying for you, and we want to hear from you too. And so if you've been in long distance, you are in long distance, drop a comment below. Let us know what you're learning along the way. And we just recognize that every relationship has different stories and different circumstances, but we're just believing that through God, He's bringing it all together for something great. And so we just thank you guys.
Thank you guys again so much for watching this video. We hope it encouraged you with wherever you are in your relationship. If you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe to our channel below. Be sure to hit the like button if you did like this video. That way we know that the things we're creating are things that you guys want to see. If you want to be notified every time we post, hit the notification bell below. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, on TikTok. I will link all of our information below in the description box if you want to hang out with us. And we share a lot of encouraging things on our Instagram page. And TikTok, we mostly just share fun things, but just a way to stay connected and get to know us a little bit more. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next Wednesday.